Hello, and a very warm welcome indeed to this afternoon's iOB business webinar. Real pleasure to have you on here. If this is your first time meeting me, my name is Ben, and I am the resident business coach here at iOB Business. Now, what we're going to be discussing today is something really, really cool. Okay, we're going to talk about unique skills, unique ways to stand out amongst your competitors. Okay, in the digital agency world, how can we stand out? How can we bring ourselves out of the ordinary? Okay, so that's what we're going to be discussing today. We're going to talk about tips and tricks and how to do this. We're going to specifically cover the how-tos. Okay, so if this is your first time joining us on one of these webinars, the way these work is we do a brief introduction with myself just now. My name is Ben, and then we run through a presentation that's going to last for around about 15 to 20 minutes or so. Now, the important part here is if you do have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and ask them. You can drop them into the Q&A box there at the bottom, and it should be a gray box, sometimes maybe green, and you can pop that in and ask your questions, and I can then answer them for you at the end when we'll do about a 5-minute Q&A session. All right, so we're just going to do some checks. We're going to give it one more minute or so and just let everybody catch up and join us on today's webinar session. Okay, so here we are. Okay, we're getting set up now. You should be able to see the presentation on screen, and you should still be able to hear my voice, and you should be able to still see my face. Now, in just a moment, when we get started, I'm going to go ahead and switch off the camera so that you won't be able to see me anymore, but you should still be able to see the presentation on screen. Okay, hello, welcome everybody. Pleasure to have you on board. Once again, my name is Ben, and I'm the resident business coach here at iOB Business. If you have not met me before, it is a real pleasure to meet you today, virtually, of course. Okay, so that looks like we've now got people joining us. That looks like we should be just about good to get kicked off in 1 second there, okay? So if you could do me a big favor and just let me know, can you still hear my voice okay? Can you still see the screen okay? And once I get that confirmation, just to let everybody know they can hear me, fantastic, perfect. We can get started, all right? Perfect, okay, so here we are. Everybody can hear my voice okay, which is fantastic. And everybody can see the screen okay, excellent, all righty. So today, we're going to be discussing unique skills to stand out amongst your competition as a digital agency owner, okay? So whether you are a newcomer to the industry and you've just started your digital agency, whether you've been running one for a little while now, or whether you're just at about an intermediate level and you're looking for that next step, this webinar is for you, okay? So make sure that you're taking notes, that you've got your notebook by your side, you've got a cup of tea ready, because we are going to dive into this now, okay? So my name is Ben Porter Smith, and I am a professional business coach, okay? What I do is I specialize in working with small businesses to help them achieve stability and growth. This is my day-to-day passion. This is my biggest interest. This is my biggest love. So it's a real pleasure for me to be here presenting this webinar to you today. And I would welcome any questions you have about business in general, digital marketing, digital agencies, anything you can throw at me, please go for it, because we love those Q&A sessions at the end. All right, so once again, just before we get started, your Q&A button is at the bottom of your screen, and it should be a gray button. Go ahead and ask those questions about today's webinar or business in general, okay? So getting started with today's session, we're going to talk about 3 things. Number 1, we're going to discuss having immediate rapport with your clients. Okay, this one is incredibly important to establishing a long-term and healthy digital agency. Second thing we're going to talk about is the ability to handle bespoke service requirements. Okay, something we must be able to adapt to in the ever-evolving digital world. Okay, and finally, we're going to talk about bringing extra to the table when it is least expected. Okay, and what this means specifically when it comes to managing clients. So to kick off with topic number 1 today, we're going to discuss immediate rapport with clients, okay? Now, first things first, we want to have a look at authenticity, okay? Now, what I mean by this is that we don't want to position ourselves in any kind of way that we are not, okay? Authenticity is a massive piece of establishing rapport with anyone, okay? Whether it's business to consumer, whether it's your friends, colleagues, family, doesn't matter who it is, okay? But fake branding can also be recognized as positioning, posturing that isn't completely true, okay? So don't get me wrong, there is sometimes where we're in a client meeting and we have to try and match them a little bit, or we bring ourselves up, or we put ourselves down a little bit with our vocal speech and our body language, okay? But for the most part, what we're talking about when we're discussing something like fake branding, what we really want to avoid is making ourselves out to be these great big corporations when we're actually just an agency that's coming new into the industry, and we're not massively established yet. We're sort of fairly recent, okay? Now, that's just one example of fake branding. When we're talking about something like this, we need to be so careful that we don't create an illusion to be something that we're actually not, okay? So 2 reasons behind this, really. Number 1, it's just negative, okay? It's only going to end badly if you position yourself to be someone that you're not, in the sense that as soon as your client finds out that you're not this massive multi-million-dollar corporation that you may have positioned yourself to be, it's going to go poorly. The second reason we want to do it is because being real creates a real immediate rapport with clients. Once they can see that you're being authentic, they can see that you're being genuine, that friendship, that professional friendship becomes so much easier to build because we can put down the foundational blocks to building something great. And they can see that because you're being real with them from the offset. So that's why authenticity is so important, okay? Second thing I have for you is truly caring about your client. This doesn't just mean remembering their name. It means remembering as much as you possibly can about them. Not only that, really making sure that you're doing your absolute best to win the results for them that they deserve, okay? So truly caring about your client, it sounds obvious, but it's one of the most commonly missed things in the digital agency world. It's so easy to begin classing your client as just another number, okay? You must always remember your client is not a number. Now, I'm sure that you felt like this before in the past, if you've been working with bigger companies or someone who you just feel like they're classing you as a number. You can't really get that great customer service. You can't get hold of somebody when you need to. And you feel like if you've asked someone to do something, it's just not getting done. Okay, now that is the last way you want your clients to feel when they're working with you as the leader of your digital agency specifically, okay? So like I said, if you're looking to get into the digital agency world, if you're a current owner, if you're a new owner, if you're an experienced owner, this applies to you, okay? These are just logical truths that you're going to have to understand when you do start to run a digital agency, or if you're currently running a digital agency, it's even more important that these universal truths are in the back of your head and you always remember them, okay? So always be sure to care about your client. Now, this literally comes into remembering their name, meeting with them regularly, doing your best to win the results for them, okay? It's simple stuff. It's simple stuff, but it's very, very effective, okay? So next things next, okay? We've got something that is a little bit of a unique skill, okay? And this comes into sales skills, it comes into rapport, it comes into becoming friends with someone, okay? If you want somebody to like you, or if you want someone to take a liking to you, which of course we do, if we're looking at signing a new client, if you have an ability to do something called mirroring, it's going to be very, very effective for you, okay? Now, essentially, to mirror someone, it means to mimic their actions in a very subconscious and subtle way, okay? So if somebody's very flamboyant, they love their hand gestures, and they like to speak in sort of a raised tone like this, you want to do your best to match this vocal impression. You want to be able to try and match their body language, okay? Now, if somebody's a little bit more quiet like this and they prefer a bit more of a conceited and withdrawn situation in meetings, then you want to try and match that as well. So you notice I'm speaking in a very gentle voice right now because this is what can be recognized as comfortable to some people. Now, if you want to do your best, you want to build immediate rapport with a prospective client, a current client, a client you've just taken over from another agency, you want to be putting in these little pieces, these little building blocks that can help you form a good partnership. And in doing so, you must be able to recognize and almost have empathy for the way that they are. Okay, so if somebody's more quiet, then try and match this tone. If somebody's more outspoken and loud, then do your best to match this tone. Okay, now if somebody's very animated, copy this. If someone's a bit more withdrawn, copy this. Okay, but reading the situation and reading who they are as a person will be massively beneficial to you because then you can replicate that language. If you can replicate the language, their brain then goes off and it says to them, I like this person. I like this person because they're just like me, okay? Now, this isn't being fake. This is being emotionally intelligent, socially intelligent, and understanding what it is that they want from you. Because I'll tell you what, if somebody's awfully quiet and they're a little bit withdrawn, the last thing they want is you to come booming over this tannoy and speaking over them and above them. They're going to feel very, very intimidated and think, really, is this actually the type of person that I want to work with? Probably not. Okay. And vice versa, if they're very loud and, forthcoming, then if you're quite withdrawn and laid back, they're going to begin to worry if you're taking them seriously. Okay. So within reason, try and adapt your behavioral trait in that actual meeting or at that point in time to match theirs as best you can. This is a very, very good skills to learn. It's a very, very good sales maneuver that some of the greatest salesmen ever will use to close clients, okay? So this is something that you can implement as well. You can make sure that you're using. Now, moving on, we need something called empathy, okay? It'll be a term that you're familiar with, no doubt, and it's probably more familiarized with the personal world of feelings and emotions and friendships and relationships and all those kinds of different things, okay? But we want to apply this in a business term, all right? So what empathy means is actually understanding and empathizing with someone's situation, all right? So being aware of what somebody needs, being aware of what somebody could have from you that would be valuable and beneficial to them, okay? So if someone's explaining to you that in the past they've worked with other agencies and it's not actually went very well and they've actually spent a lot of money and got little to no results, they're struggling in their business, they're having a really hard time with this or that, okay? Having empathy and genuine concern for this will just be absolutely invaluable for you, okay? Now, the reason why is because if you can achieve this level of care, you can achieve this level of empathy, they feel like they can really relate to you. They feel like you actually care, that you have compassion, and that you will do your best to help them. Now, when we're looking at building rapport, okay, what do people want? People want to be cared for. People want to be looked after. People want to be recognized, okay? These are all things that we as humans have a basic necessity for. We want to feel cared about. We want to feel cared for. We want to be important, okay? And if we're made to feel important, which is another very, very common sales strategy, okay? If we're made to feel important, we're much more likely to give somebody something, okay? i.e., in this situation, we're going to give you our business, all right? So this is what we want to aim for. Now, final piece here, okay? Now, friendly banter is something that should be recognized as a when-to-do situation, okay? Now, what I mean by that, you might not have heard that phrase before, but essentially what I'm getting at is don't always jump to the friendly banter. If somebody is having banter with you and they're enjoying it and having a bit of a laugh, there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing this back, okay? So banter can just be having a joke here and there, talking about something in common, having a bit of a laugh, okay? Now, some clients you will find don't necessarily want to do this. Some clients want to just stick to the serious, quote unquote, business elements of the phone call or the sales meeting. If this is the case, just stick with that. Don't try and jump in with any jokes or friendly banter because it's clearly not appropriate to the situation. However, if the client's a little bit more laid back and they're happy to have a bit of a laugh and a casual catch up and a bit of small talk, by all means, get stuck in. It's a great way to build rapport with clients, okay? So moving on now, if you have any questions on topic number 1, feel free to fire them over in the Q&A box and I will get to them at the end of today's session for you. Okay, so next up, we have the ability to handle bespoke service requirements. All right, so this is topic number 2 that we're speaking about today. For those of you that are just joining us now, please get stuck in, please grab a notebook and ask any questions because you're always welcome. Okay, so topic number 2, the ability to handle bespoke service requirements. Okay, this is another very, very important element of setting yourself out amongst the competition. Now, first thing I want to share with you today on topic number 2, never be shy to take on unique challenges, okay? This is something that is so important for your personal growth, for your business growth, for your mental growth, everything, okay? When it comes down to taking on unique challenges, yes, they can be intimidating, they can be a little bit scary, okay? Now, the reason most of the time that we're intimidated or scared by something is because we don't know how to do it. If you've done it multiple times before, it's gonna be almost like muscle memory. You can do it as many times as you want, as often as you want, no questions asked, okay? Now, when unique challenges come our way, we must have an open mind and we must be willing to take them on. Okay, now this is going to continue to apply throughout the rest of topic 2, and I'm going to talk you through exactly why. Okay, so when we're looking at something, we need to always be transparent. Now, when we're looking at taking on these unique challenges, okay, we need to make whoever it is aware that maybe we're not 100% clear on what it is it needs to do if we need some clarification. But also, we need to be making sure that we make it very, very clear, look, this isn't something that we usually do. We're more than happy to take a pop at it for you with our current education, with our current skill set, with our current experience, but we can't actually guarantee any results. Now, a side note, you should never really guarantee any results at all. You should always try your best, but don't make a guarantee, okay? Now, when we're looking at being transparent, okay, we want to put an emphasis on our skill set. All right, so I put in brackets here, I can't give specific recommendations, but I do know how to scale your reps, okay? So let's say that somebody comes to you and they say, look, I think I've got a bit of a website problem, okay? I think that my website's not working too well. Maybe it's the SEO, maybe it's the structure of the landing page. I don't know what it is, okay? So this is one of those classic times where you could say to them, look, Okay, I think I can help you. But to be perfectly honest with you, my skill set really isn't in landing page design or optimization. And I don't really know that much about SEO. What I do know is paid advertising. I have a proven track record of growing, scaling businesses via paid advertising. Okay. So if you want me to take a look at that for you, I absolutely can. All right. So what's happening here is that you're being completely transparent, but you're putting a huge emphasis on what you can do. So you're not just saying, no, sorry, we're really not very good at that. Maybe you should try and find someone else. What you are saying is, well, look, okay, we don't really have a proven track record over here, and that's not really our skill set of what we do. But if you do want to work with us, this is what we can do for you. And guess what? We can do it really, really well. So if your problem is actually being misunderstood currently, and your problem is that you're just not getting enough eyes on your website, then we can take a look at that via paid advertising and see if that's something that we can help you with. We can audit your campaigns. We can look at optimal tweaks. We can do very different things to make sure that we eliminate that from your equation. Okay, so always put an emphasis on your skill set. Being honest and being transparent doesn't have to be a negative thing. Okay, so next up, your client may not always want the boilerplate. Okay, now if you've not heard this term before, it means the standard or the ordinary or the usual. Okay, service, and within reason, you should be open to adapting for the client. Now, what this means is, okay, now especially something that I teach so often is developing core offerings and packages. Okay, so the reason that we focus on this is to give you and your client clarity. When you present something that you're very good at, you're very skilled at, and that you love to your client in a very clear format, it makes it easy for them to understand, and it makes it easy for you to understand. More importantly, it allows you to scale the business in a much easier format. Okay, but sometimes a client is going to ask you to make a tweak or just change something ever so slightly. Okay, so let's just say that your package was paid advertising at £1,000 a month. All right. So if the client comes back to you and says, well, actually, Ben, I was thinking that we want to put £2,000 a month into our paid ads instead of 1,000. Now I know that's not specifically in your package, but do you think that's something you could work with me on? Okay. So in this situation, I'm getting more money because increased ad spend means increased fees. But more specifically, we're happy to adapt to what the client needs because it's really not that far out of what we were doing already anyway. Now, if that's the difference between signing them as a client and not signing them as a client, guess what? I'm going to make that change. As long as it's reasonable, as long as it's fair, and as long as it's in my professional skill set, something that I can do. Okay. And in this circumstance, it absolutely is. The paid advertising is the same theory. They're just asking to spend more money. So whilst it's not necessarily my boilerplate service, it's still very much in the same niche. Okay. Now, other ways that this can be pointed out, a client might need 4 meetings, but you only usually offer 2 in your package. Okay. So you can look at varying different ways in which you can do this. Okay. You can offer them 4 meetings in exchange for a little bit of an extra fee, or you can just say, you know what, that's fine. Instead of having 2 1-hour-long meetings throughout the month, let's just have 4 half-hour meetings. Okay. It's the same amount of time, but we're just catching up on a more regular basis. Now, sometimes clients might ask to do this because they usually have a lot to catch up on. They're very, very busy business owners, or just multiple different reasons. Okay. But this is the 2 examples that I've just given you are 2 very, very simple explanations of why and how this might actually come across. And really, if it's not going to have a huge impact on your business, it's very, very worthwhile having an open mind and being willing to adapt just a little bit to serve your clients. Okay. Now, the final piece on topic number 2, your organization here is absolutely key. Okay. You must always remember the needs of your specific client. So you should have a file or a folder for your client, and just anything specifically they're asking for that isn't boilerplate. Just make sure that you take a note of this. Okay. So let's just say that you signed a new client. His name is Ben, and you've agreed with him that you're going to meet with him 4 times a month instead of 2. Just make sure that you keep a note of this somewhere in case you need to give it to a different account manager, or you've been working with them for a certain amount of time, maybe you forget, or it's easy to forget what the initial agreement was. So just make sure that any kind of add-ons or extras or special agreements get written down just for your organization and your memory going forwards. Okay, so that brings us now on to topic number 3. Now, as always, any questions that you have on topic number 2 for me, pop them in the Q&A box and I will get to them for you at the end of today's session. Okay, so topic number 3 is all about bringing extra to the table when it is least expected. Okay, so what does this mean? It means having proactive suggestions. Okay, now, whilst it might not necessarily be expected by your client to give them regular suggestions, updates, tweaks, improvements, optimal enhancement, okay, you should do it anyway. Now, this is me speaking to you as someone who has worked with multiple variations of businesses and multiple variations of industries, very, very heavily in the digital marketing world. I can tell you for absolute certainty that if you're giving proactive suggestions to a client, it not only shows that you care, but they absolutely love it because it shows that you are doing your best to improve their business. Now, depending on who your clients are, if you have a slightly more niche client, small businesses, medium businesses, large businesses, okay, everybody has an ambition to improve their business in one way or another. Somebody wants to be more efficient. Somebody wants to earn more money. Somebody wants to take on an extra team member. Somebody wants to work faster. Somebody wants to take more time off, okay? Now, any proactive suggestions that you have along these lines of how a business can make more money, how they can be more efficient, how they can be faster, leaner, stronger, okay? These are always going to be valued by the business. You are not overstepping by making subtle suggestions specifically related to marketing or digital marketing that you think could improve their business. This is one of the ways in which you can bring extra to the table without necessarily being asked for it, okay? Impromptu suggestions on interesting data, okay? If you're doing a regular weekly or monthly report for the client and you see something like maybe something, an anomaly, something slightly unorthodox, and you think, actually, I want to change this, we could do something differently, okay? Make these suggestions, okay? Don't just give a run-of-the-mill standard report once a week where they almost don't read it anymore because they just know what to expect. Make sure that you're putting random things on there that are beneficial. You're putting in extra bits of advice, extra pieces of data, and say, well, actually, I found this metric really interesting this week, so I'll put it in here for you. Let me know what you think. Let's do this together, okay? It's a partnership. A business-client relationship is a partnership. Without each other, you cannot go forward, okay? So, next, this is something that's a little bit of a suggestion to really build that personal rapport, okay? Something that you won't see every day and something that would maybe think, oh, well, I'm not sure if I want to do that, okay? Because it's difficult sometimes to draw the line between business and personal. However, doing simple favors, simple kind gestures that can help you build that additional rapport are always going to be recognized. Okay, so let's just say that you're going to a show and you have some spare tickets. Maybe it's a sports game, maybe it's an event, maybe it's a concert. It doesn't really matter, all right? Maybe it's spare vouchers for a restaurant or something you're not using, okay? If you can use these to build rapport with your clients, you're going to see a benefit from it. So if you have a very, very substantial client or somebody that you value greatly, and you say to them, hi, I know that you're a fan of golf, so I have some open tickets here for you. What do you think? Would you like to go? Do you want to go? Is there somebody you want to take? Okay, this will just be massively, massively appreciated. And all it is you saying to your client, you know what, thanks a lot for your business. Thanks for being a great client. We look forward to working with you for many, many years more. Okay, that is what that gesture is saying without actually saying it. The same applies for birthdays, Christmases, work anniversaries, big events, okay? Take notice of the personal lives of your clients just a little bit. If they express an interest in golf, get them golf tickets, okay? As long as it's affordable, of course, but it's something that can really, really go a long way in building that healthy, positive relationship. All right, now personal relationships do weigh into business, okay? Whether we like it or not, there's always a personal element of business. And the most simple way that I can share this information with you, if somebody doesn't like you, they're not going to give you their business, all right? So that is a perfect note to end on today. We have a summary here, okay? So let's recap. First things first, understand how to establish immediate rapport with your client. This is such a valuable piece of information to understand. Second, be adaptable. Keep an open mind. If a client is asking for something slightly out of the ordinary, be willing to do this for them as long as it's not massively disrupting anything, okay? And the third and final piece, always over deliver. Kind gestures, remembering things, proactive suggestions, coming forward with information that they might not necessarily have thought of themselves. They're always going to appreciate this. Okay, so that brings us to a conclusion on today's session. I hope, as always, that it was very valuable to you and that you enjoyed the content. Thank you so much for attending. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and grab the questions that I have from the Q&A session. If you would like to check us out further, please head over to iob-business.com and have a look about what we do and who we can help. Okay, now give me 1 second and I'm going to go and grab my questions from today's session. Okay, fantastic. Cool. Okay, so first question I have in for today, how do I build a great relationship with my client? Okay, so that is a fantastic question. And the advice that I have for you here, all right, if you're looking to build a great relationship with someone, okay, specifically a client, you need to try and understand their personality type, okay? Not all clients want to have a casual relationship. Some want to be serious, some want to be a bit more, having banter. Some people just want to relax a little bit more when they're talking business. Some prefer small talk, okay? But really the best way to build a great relationship is just by mirroring them and understanding what they actually want to do. If you can sometimes put aside sometimes how you like to behave in client meetings and adapt to how they like to behave, this will help you build rapport much, much faster, okay? So if it's a casual relationship, they might be more prone to just, happy for you to call them, check in, just casually text them and say, hey, how's things? Can we talk about this? Whatever. If it's a bit more of a professional, serious relationship, they might prefer that you email within certain hours. If you want to call them, that you make an appointment, etc. So just try and understand who they are. Okay, you can build rapport with both, but it's more important that you understand who they are as a person. All right, fantastic question. Thank you so much. Okay, cool. So I've got another question coming here. Good question. Where should I draw the line with adapting my services? Okay, so the most simple way I can answer this question, okay, so for those of you that maybe didn't catch that, the question was, where should I draw the line with adapting my service? Okay, something we spoke about in today's session. Now, essentially what you want to understand here is that small changes, like an extra meeting or an extra report, that's just fine. There's no problem, okay? Like if somebody's asking for that and they want something a little bit extra that's really not going to put you out, absolutely happy to do that for you, okay? If you want an extra report, you want an additional metric, you want an extra meeting from time to time, it's no problem, okay? You need to be adaptable with these kinds of things. However, okay, if they're asking for an actual big adjustment or a big improvement or, a big update or whatever it is, like let's just say an example here, if you're already offering them Facebook ads and they come to you and they say, actually, we want to do Google ads as well, then that's when you should start to look at either declining the invitation because you don't specialize in that area or looking at charging additional fees. So if you're charging, say, £1,000 a month to run Facebook ads for them, and they come to you and say, actually, we want to run Google ads as well, you say, that's fine, I'm going to charge you £1,750, right? So let's just say that you would do either service for £1,000 each, and if they get two of them, then you give a discount of £250. So it's £1,750. But the basic theory and principle here is if someone's asking you for something small, just be happy, be open-minded, be happy to do it. And if someone's asking for something major, like an additional service or a big update, just if you can do it, then accept the work, but make sure that you're being rewarded, compensated financially, and that you're being paid well for your time. That is the best advice I have for you. And thank you so much for the question. All right, so let me just do one final sweep and check that we haven't got any more questions. Thank you always to the people that ask the questions. I love answering them. They're always eye-opening for both viewer and for me. Okay, so always welcome for the questions. Fantastic. Okay, well, I think that's us for today's session. No more questions in, no more chats in. As always, I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your week, and a big thank you for joining us on today's session. I very much hope to see you again 2 weeks from now. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.